The sun rose over the Pacific, casting golden light across the waves and shimmering skyscrapers of San Francisco. Another day began on Earth, unremarkable save for the lives being lived, the struggles and joys unfolding. People hurried through city streets, children laughed as they raced for school buses, and vendors called out their wares in markets that buzzed with life. The world hummed with its usual rhythm, blissfully unaware that it was being watched from above. High in orbit, hidden from detection by human instruments, a colossal alien vessel floated in silence. Its hull glistened like polished obsidian, absorbing and refracting the sunlight in unnatural ways. Within its massive structure, the command center was a cathedral of light and shadow, where streams of glowing data swirled in three-dimensional projections. At the heart of the room stood Grand Vizier Vale, a figure as imposing as the ship itself. His angular features glimmered faintly, his violet eyes piercing and unyielding. His crystalline robe swayed as he moved with the precision of someone who had seen countless civilizations fall to their knees. "Begin the transmission," Vol commanded, his voice cold and resonant. He turned to face the council of advisors encircling him, their tall, cloaked forms reflecting the eerie glow of the room. "Let this primitive world understand the weight of its insignificance." The transmission sphere before him flared to life, casting his image and voice across Earth's communication networks. Television screens froze mid-broadcast, radio signals were hijacked, and smartphone screens across the globe flickered to life with the same image: Vol, his towering figure framed by a backdrop of alien grandeur. "People of Earth," he began, his voice resonating in every language at once, "I am Grand Vizier Vol of the Galactic Empire. Your world has been chosen to serve the needs of our dominion. Your resources will fuel our expansion, and your compliance will ensure your survival. Surrender peacefully, and you shall endure under the Empire's guidance. Resist, and you will be annihilated. You have one Earth rotation to decide." The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving billions in stunned silence. Across the globe, chaos erupted. Families huddled together in fear. Governments scrambled to respond, and conspiracy theorists claimed vindication. On a planet divided by borders, ideologies, and histories, there was one unifying emotion: terror. In San Francisco, Dr. Elena Carter stared at her television, the remnants of her breakfast forgotten on the counter. An astrophysicist specializing in extraterrestrial signals, she had spent years trying to prove humanity was not alone. Now that proof stood before her, a chilling, undeniable reality. "This can't be real," her roommate murmured, clutching a coffee cup with trembling hands. It's got to be a hoax, right?" Elena shook her head. "No hoax," she whispered. Her mind raced, piecing together fragments of recent data. Weeks earlier, she'd detected anomalous signals from deep space, but they had been too faint to analyze. Now she realized they had been the Empire's ships, their approach masked by the immensity of space and the limits of human technology. Her phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was from the National Observatory. "Dr. Carter," the voice on the other end said urgently, "we need you in Nevada, now." Hours later, Elena arrived at a decommissioned military bunker in the desert, repurposed for a secret global summit. The room buzzed with activity. Scientists and military officials clustered around monitors displaying satellite images of the alien fleet. High above Earth, faint dots of light, barely distinguishable from stars, moved in precise formations. Elena was ushered into a briefing room where a group of global leaders and top scientists awaited. General Harris, a grizzled veteran with a permanent scowl, stood at the head of the table. "We don't have time for introductions," he barked. "You're here because we need answers. What are we dealing with?" Elena took a deep breath and connected her laptop to the room's display. "The fleet is enormous," she began, pulling up a 3D model based on satellite data. and their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their ships are cloaked in some kind of energy field that renders them invisible to most of our instruments. The transmission we received was their way of revealing themselves. A diplomat spoke up, his voice shaky. Is there any chance they're bluffing? Could this be some form of psychological warfare? No, Elena said firmly. They don't need to bluff. If their goal is to subjugate Earth, they're more than capable. The question isn't whether they can defeat us, it's whether they'll give us a chance to resist, Miranda said. General Harris leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. And what do you suggest we do? Surrender? No! Another voice interrupted. A tall, dark-haired man stepped into the room, his presence commanding immediate attention. Elena recognized him instantly. Commander Arjun Singh, a rogue ex-Space Force officer who had disappeared from public view years ago. He had been a rising star in Earth's fledgling space defense program before falling out with the bureaucracy over his unorthodox methods. If we surrender, Singh continued, we lose everything. They'll strip this planet bare and leave us as slaves. We have to fight. Harris snorted. Fight? With what? Their ships are practically invulnerable, and their weapons could vaporize our strongest defenses. We don't fight them head-on, Singh countered. We exploit their arrogance. Empires like this thrive on the assumption that their prey is weak and divided. We show them that Earth isn't as helpless as they think. Elena frowned. Even if we unite, our technology can't match theirs. We'd need years, decades to catch up. That's why we fight smart, Singh said, his gaze locking onto hers. You've studied their signals. Can you find a weakness? Anything we can use? Elena hesitated. The enormity of the task was overwhelming, but the alternative was unthinkable. I'll try, she said, but I'll need a team and unrestricted access to all available data. Singh nodded. You'll have it. As they spoke, an alert blared through the bunker. A technician rushed in holding a tablet. Sir, we've detected movement in the fleet. Multiple ships are descending into the atmosphere. Panic rippled through the room. Harris barked orders to his subordinates, while Singh turned to Elena. Whatever you're going to do it fast. Above Earth, the alien ships broke through the clouds, their sleek forms shimmering with unearthly energy. Cities erupted in chaos as their presence became undeniable. In New York, people fled skyscrapers, their eyes fixed on the glowing crafts hovering above. In Tokyo, military jets scrambled to intercept, their weapons ineffective against the ship's shimmering shields. Across the globe, the same scenes played out: fear, confusion, and a growing sense of helplessness. Back in the bunker, Elena worked furiously, her fingers flying over her keyboard. She sifted through intercepted signals, searching for patterns, anomalies, anything that could give humanity a chance. Hours passed, the room around her a blur of activity and tension. Then she found it. Hidden within the layers of Val's transmission was a secondary signal, faint but distinct. It wasn't Imperial in origin. Heart pounding, Elena amplified the signal and began decoding it. The message that emerged was brief but electrifying. Earth is not alone. Help is coming. Prepare to hold the line. Elena stared at the words, her mind racing. Someone's trying to reach us, she murmured. Singh leaned over her shoulder. Who? Another alien race? I don't know, Elena admitted, but they're offering help. Before they could delve deeper, another alert sounded. Satellite feeds showed dozens of alien ships converging on key strategic locations around the globe. The Empire was making its move. Personally, he returned. Singh stood, his voice cutting through the tension. They're testing us. Let's make sure they regret it. As the bunker buzzed with preparations for Earth's first coordinated counterstrike, Elena glanced back at the decoded message. Help was coming, but would it arrive in time? The skies over Earth churned with turmoil as alien ships descended, their sleek obsidian forms shimmering with an unnatural energy that defied human understanding. Massive in scale, yet eerily silent, they hovered with an ominous grace, their presence casting shadows over cities that once seemed invincible in their grandeur. Outgroup across the globe, military forces scrambled into action, governments declared martial law, and civilians sought refuge in basements, bunkers, and wherever they felt the illusion of safety might hold. In a remote Nevada desert, the secret bunker that had become the nerve center of Earth's resistance was alive with frantic energy. Satellite feeds from around the globe displayed the unfolding invasion, while analysts shouted updates to commanding officers who barked orders into headsets. The walls hummed with a low-frequency rumble of generators struggling to keep pace with the power demands of the facility. Dr. Elena Carter sat at the edge of the chaos, her laptop glowing with data streams that blurred together as she worked feverishly to decode the faint alien transmission she'd discovered earlier. "What do we know?" Commander Arjun Singh asked as he approached, his commanding presence cutting through the tension. His dark eyes were fixed on the display in front of Elena, which now showed the decoded message. Earth is not alone. Help is coming. Prepare to hold the line. "It's definitely not from the Empire," Elena said, her voice taut with concentration. "The signal structure is completely different, more erratic, almost like it was piggybacked onto their transmission." Singh studied the message, his expression unreadable. "Can you trace its origin? Figure out who sent it?" Elena shook her head. "Not with the data we have. It's fragmented, like someone wanted to send this without being detected, but the signal's faint enough that it's hard to say whether it's a beacon of hope or a trap." A nearby monitor flashed red, drawing their attention. General Harris stormed into the room, his grizzled face set in a scowl. "We've got reports coming in. Those ships are locking onto key infrastructure, power grids, communication hubs, transportation routes. It's not an all-out attack yet, but they're preparing to cripple us." "They're testing our response," Singh said, his voice calm but firm, "seeing how we react under pressure." "And what do you suggest we do, Commander?" Harris snapped. "Wait until they finish the job? We need to hit back now, show them Earth won't roll over." "Agreed," Singh replied, turning to the tactical map on the central table. "But we don't strike blindly. We pick our targets and make it count. Their shields are their greatest strength, but we've seen them in action. There's a brief window when their ships decloak to engage. That's when we hit them." Harris grunted. "And with what? Harsh language? Our best weapons barely register on their shields." Singh gestured to Elena. "That's where she comes in." Elena blinked in surprise. "What? I'm not a weapons specialist." "No," Singh said, "but you're the best mind we have for understanding alien tech. If that signal you found came from someone trying to help us, there's a chance it contains information we can use. Weapons, tactics, anything. If we can decode the rest, it could give us an edge." Elena hesitated, the weight of the task pressing down on her. "I'll try, but even if I crack it, it might be too late." "Then we don't waste time," Singh said. "General, coordinate defensive positions around those key targets. Stall them as long as you can." Harris muttered something under his breath, but nodded, striding out of the room to issue orders. Singh turned back to Elena. "Focus on that signal. Whatever's in it could change the tide of this fight." As Singh walked away, Elena turned back to her screen, her mind racing. The faint signal flickered like a distant star, its chaotic structure defying conventional decryption methods. It wasn't just a puzzle, it was a lifeline, one she couldn't afford to drop. In the skies above Earth, the Empire's ships began their first maneuvers. Massive crafts resembling floating monoliths positioned themselves over strategic locations, their surfaces gleaming with an eerie luminescence. Smaller vessels broke off from the main fleet, descending like predatory birds toward the planet's surface. In New York City, a crowd of onlookers gathered in Times Square, their eyes fixed on the massive ship hovering overhead. Military jets screamed through the sky, their sleek forms dwarfed by the alien craft. The crowd gasped as the jets opened fire, streaks of light arcing toward the target. For a moment it seemed as if the attack might connect, but the alien ship's shields flared, absorbing the impact without so much as a scratch. Then came the counterstrike. A single beam of energy shot from the alien craft, slicing through one of the jets with surgical precision. The jet erupted in flames, spiraling downward in a trail of smoke. Panic erupted in the streets as people fled, their screams echoing through the city's concrete canyons. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In London, the Thames reflected the glow of alien ships as they hovered over the city's landmarks. In Tokyo, fighter jets engaged in a futile battle against an enemy they couldn't even touch. The world's militaries fought valiantly, but it was clear they were outmatched. Back in the bunker, Elena's breakthrough came unexpectedly. As she sifted through the fragmented signal, a pattern emerged. An intricate web of mathematical sequences that seemed to map out something tangible. Her heart raced as she realized what it was. A schematic. The signal contained detailed blueprints for an alien device, one far beyond anything humanity had ever conceived. "What is it?" Singh asked as he returned to her side, noticing the shift in her expression. "It's a weapon," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Or at least part of one. It looks like it could generate a focused energy pulse strong enough to disrupt their shields." Singh's eyes lit up. "Can we build it?" "Not with what we have here," Elena admitted. "But if we can get this data to one of our advanced research facilities, they might be able to reverse engineer it." Singh nodded. "Then we make that our priority, General," he called out as Harris re-entered the room. "We need a secure route to transport this data to a research facility." Harris scowled. "With those ships in the air, you're asking for a miracle." "Then give me a miracle," Singh shot back. "If we can disrupt their shields, we stand a chance. Without it, this fight is already over." Reluctantly, Harris agreed, and plans were quickly put into motion. A small team was assembled to escort Elena and her data to a nearby research facility. The mission was perilous. Alien ships patrolled the skies, and their ground forces had begun to deploy, but it was Earth's best shot at survival. As the team prepared to depart, Elena felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. She had never imagined her work would lead her here, to the front lines of a battle for humanity's survival. Yet, as she boarded the armored transport, flanked by soldiers and scientists, she couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. The signal had come from somewhere, sent by someone who believed Earth was worth saving. If they could hold the line, maybe, just maybe, help would arrive in time. Outside, the skies burned with the glow of alien ships, their presence a constant reminder of the stakes. The transport rumbled to life, its engines roaring as it sped across the desert. Elena clutched her laptop tightly, the schematics glowing on its screen. Around her, the soldiers were tense but determined, their weapons ready as they scanned the horizon for threats. As they approached their destination, a shadow passed overhead. One of the alien ships had spotted them. Alarms blared, and the transport swerved violently as a beam of energy scorched the ground beside it. The soldiers opened fire, their bullets useless against the ship's shields. Elena braced herself as the transport skidded to a halt. "We're sitting ducks out here," one of the soldiers shouted. Singh, who had insisted on joining the mission, climbed onto the transport's roof, his face set with grim determination. "Cover me," he ordered, pulling a portable rocket launcher from the vehicle's storage compartment. As the alien ship circled back for another pass, Singh took aim. The rocket streaked through the air, detonating just as the ship's shields flickered during its attack run. The explosion rocked the craft, sending it spiraling out of control before crashing into the desert. The team cheered, but their victory was short-lived. More ships were approaching, their silhouettes dark against the setting sun. "We're out of time," Singh said, jumping back into the transport. "Get us to that facility now." As the transport sped away, Elena glanced back at the wreckage of the alien ship. For the first time, it seemed possible that humanity might have a chance. Not just to survive, but to fight back. But with the full might of the Galactic Empire bearing down on them, that chance felt razor thin. The night sky over the Nevada desert was a canvas of chaos. The stars were eclipsed by the hulking silhouettes of alien ships, their surfaces gleaming with an unnatural brilliance. The air was thick with tension as Elena's transport careened across the rugged terrain, engines roaring in defiance of the death that loomed overhead. Behind them, the smoldering wreckage of the downed alien craft served as both a symbol of hope and a grim reminder of the odds stacked against them. Inside the armored vehicle, the atmosphere was suffocating. Soldiers gripped their weapons tightly, their eyes scanning the dark horizon for any sign of movement. Commander Singh sat opposite Elena, his expression steely but laced with a hint of unease. Elena herself clutched her laptop as if it were a lifeline, the alien schematics glowing faintly on the screen. "How much farther?" Singh barked to the driver. 15 minutes if we don't run into more of them," the driver replied, his voice strained. Elena's heart raced as she stared at the schematics. The alien weapon design was like nothing she had ever seen, a delicate interplay of physics and engineering that defied Earth's understanding of technology. It was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. If they could replicate it, the device might give humanity a chance to fight back. But the more she studied it, the more questions arose. What if they misunderstood its function? What if activating it caused more harm than good? Her thoughts were interrupted by a deafening explosion. The transport rocked violently, throwing its passengers against the walls. Outside, a plume of fire erupted as an alien drone struck a nearby ridge. "Hostile on R6, one of the soldiers shouted, peering through a small window. "Evasive maneuvers," Singh ordered. The transport swerved sharply, its tires skidding over loose gravel. Elena gripped a handle for support as the soldiers scrambled to return fire. A second explosion lit up the night, and the vehicle's rear axle groaned under the strain. "We're not going to make it like this," Singh muttered. He turned to the team. "Everyone out! We're taking this on foot." The transport screeched to a halt and the doors were flung open. Soldiers poured out, their rifles raised as they formed a defensive perimeter. Elena followed, her laptop clutched protectively against her chest. The night air was cold and biting, but it was nothing compared to the chill of fear that coursed through her veins. "Move, stay low," Singh commanded, motioning toward a cluster of jagged rocks that offered some cover. The group sprinted across the open ground, their footsteps muffled by the soft desert sand. Overhead, the drone circled like a predator, its searchlight slicing through the darkness. Elena's breath came in ragged gasps as she stumbled behind Singh. Her mind raced with calculations, theories, and half-formed plans. The alien signal was still playing in her head, its cryptic message like a riddle she couldn't solve. "Help is coming. Prepare to hold the line." She glanced over her shoulder and froze. In the distance, a massive alien ship was descending, its engines casting an eerie blue glow across the landscape. Its sheer size was overwhelming, a reminder of the power they were up against. Her battle line felt as cracked and fragile as a clock, but appeared to be drawing closer. "Keep moving," Singh shouted, grabbing her arm and pulling her forward. The group reached the cover of the rocks just as another explosion rocked the ground. One of the soldiers let out a curse as shrapnel peppered the area, but no one stopped. They pressed on, weaving through the shadows like ghosts. Minutes stretched into an eternity as they made their way toward their destination. The research facility was a few miles away, hidden in a natural cavern beneath the desert. It was a classified installation, one of Earth's most advanced, but even its cutting-edge defenses felt laughably inadequate against the might of the Galactic Empire. When they finally arrived, the sight of the facility was both a relief and a grim reality check. The entrance was heavily fortified with automated turrets and reinforced barriers. Yet, compared to the alien fleet, it felt like a sandcastle braced against a tsunami. "Open the gates!" Singh shouted, waving toward the security cameras. A moment later, the heavy steel doors groaned as they slid open, and the group hurried inside. The facility was a labyrinth of sterile corridors and humming machinery. Scientists and engineers worked feverishly at their stations, their faces pale with exhaustion and fear. Elena was ushered into a secure lab where a group of specialists waited. They pounced on her the moment she entered. "You're Dr. Carter?" one of them asked, barely waiting for her nod before continuing. "We've been briefed on the data you're carrying. Let's see it." Elena connected her laptop to the lab's main console, and the schematics flickered to life on the large screen. The room fell silent as the scientists studied the alien design. Their eyes widened with a mix of awe and disbelief. Elena never expected this to happen. This is incredible," one of them murmured. "The energy output alone, it's orders of magnitude beyond anything we've ever seen." "But can we build it?" Singh pressed, his tone urgent. The lead scientist hesitated. "Theoretically, yes, but we'll need time to fabricate the components, test the assembly, and ensure it's safe to use. Even with our resources, we're looking at days, maybe weeks." "We don't have weeks," Singh said sharply. "Those ships are tearing us apart up there." Elena stepped forward. "What if we bypass the full assembly, focus on just the core components, the ones that disrupt their shields? It won't be as effective, but it might be enough to give our forces a fighting chance." The scientist frowned, considering her suggestion. "It's risky. Without the full system, there's a higher chance of failure or catastrophic malfunction." "It's a chance we'll have to take," Singh said. "Get it done." The room erupted into motion as the scientists began dividing tasks and gathering materials. Elena stayed by the console, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she refined the schematics and adjusted the design for the makeshift version. Her mind was a blur of equations, diagrams, and desperate hope. Hours passed in a haze of frantic activity. The lab buzzed with the hum of 3D printers, the clatter of tools, and the occasional burst of argument as the team worked through setbacks. Elena barely noticed the time slipping away. Her focus was absolute, driven by the knowledge that every second brought the Empire closer to victory. Finally, the prototype was complete. It was crude compared to the elegance of the original design, but it was functional. A cylindrical device no larger than a human torso, its surface etched with glowing runes of alien origin. The scientists wheeled it into the testing chamber, their faces a mix of exhaustion and determination. "We're ready," one of them said. Elena and Singh watched from the observation room as the device was activated. A low hum filled the air, growing steadily louder until it resonated through the walls. A pulse of energy rippled outward, briefly illuminating the chamber with a brilliant blue light. Then, with a crack like a tree, the lead scientist checked the readings and nodded. "It works. The energy signature matches the projections. It should be able to disrupt their shields, at least temporarily." "Good," Singh said. "Prep it for deployment. We'll need to get it into the field as soon as possible." As the team worked to secure the device, an alarm blared through the facility. Elena's heart sank as she looked at the security feed. Several alien ships were converging on their location, their glowing forms cutting through the darkness like specters. "They've found us," Singh muttered. The facility's defenses roared to life as the alien ships began their assault. Turrets fired streams of tracer rounds into the night, but the ship's shields absorbed the attacks effortlessly. Explosions rocked the facility as beams of energy struck the ground, sending plumes of fire and debris into the air. "We need to move now," Singh said, grabbing a rifle and motioning to the soldiers. "Get the device to the transport. We're taking the fight to them." Elena followed, her pulse pounding as the group hurried through the chaotic corridors. The soldiers formed a protective ring around the prototype, their faces set with grim determination. Outside, the desert was a battlefield, the night lit by the glow of alien weaponry. As they loaded the device onto the transport, Elena felt a surge of determination. The odds were impossible, the enemy overwhelming, but they had something the Empire didn't expect: resistance, and as long as they fought, Earth still had a chance. End of